Well, hey out there, YouTube. This is Bradford, your carnivore curmudgeon. It's been a hot minute since I've posted a video, partly because I caught myself after 3 years, my first case of COVID, and I've been feeling like, well, if you've ever had COVID, you already know. But I am on the upswing, and so I thought I'd bring you kind of a quick recipe today, a bacon chili cheese dog on a stick. But you don't have to keep the stick. The emphasis here on the delicious part of this dish is the bacon, chili, and cheese hot dog. So here's a quick view of what it will look like, but of course, remove the stick before you eat it. And to be perfectly honest, I use my own homemade hot dogs for this recipe, which makes one of the steps in this probably a little more challenging than a store-bought hot dog of your choice because of consistency. But it all works out. And you really only need a few ingredients for the chili itself. Some chili powder, paprika, some onion powder, garlic powder, and crushed red pepper, any of which you can use or avoid, depending on how you carnivore. But we got to get the chili going first, so we're going to fire up the pot and brown off some ground beef. And once that fat has rendered out, what I like to do is I like to remove some of this grease because I don't want it just to be a greasy mouthfeel when my chili is done. I leave some of the fat. I can always add fat if I want to, but I just move it to one side, take some paper towels, soak up as much grease as I want to get out of there, and then leave the rest. Now it's time to add some of those spices, and I don't even measure this. I just eyeball it. I've been making chili on my own for so long that I just know how I like it to look, and so a couple of palms full of chili powder for this 1 pound of ground beef. About half of that same amount of paprika goes in, and then probably no more than a half to a full tablespoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and then I give it a good stir so that those aromatics start to I don't know what they call it, bloom. They just start to open up and really give off their essence. And then once I get that warmed up, toss in a little bit of red pepper. I don't want to blow the top of my head off, just want to give it a little bit of a kick. And my apology, I did not fully get on camera the addition of about 2.5 cups of beef stock. In my case, I used some homemade beef stock that I made while I was laid up with the COVID. And this gives it a great consistency if you let it boil down until it's runny, but not soupy and not too dry. And now comes the most difficult part of the process, and that is skewering the hot dogs, because sometimes it's just kind of hard to keep your wiener straight. Yeah, so sometimes it's hard to keep your wiener straight. And so you just do the best you can. These are my homemade hot dogs. Here's a quick clip to prove that these are my homemade hot dogs. But you take a skewer and you do the best you can to get it through the very center of the hot dogs, because that's crucial in the next step, which is to cut the hot dog in a spiral motion. Think in terms of a spiral staircase where you're starting at the top and sort of wending your way down at an angle the best you can. You're trying not to cut all the way through. This is where it was more difficult for me because of the consistency of my homemade hot dog. I think actually a store-bought hot dog will work better for this, but you know, you can make it work. In the end, you end up with this: bacon on a hot dog and then covered with chili. How can you complain even if it goes wrong? So we're going to take this piece of bacon and we're going to, as best we can, just insert it into the slits of the hot dog that we cut with the knife so that we can grill it up. Now look, if you like, you can just wrap your hot dog right fully with a piece of bacon. Some people really like that. I just particularly don't care for something covered with bacon so much that all I can taste is bacon. I would just rather eat a pound of bacon. But the goal here is to slip that bacon strip in between in those slits and let the bacon flavor get into the hot dog, cook the bacon, and you know, it's just kind of fun. And in my case, I could have put it right on the grill. You can do it under the broiler, you can do it in a pan, but I already had the Auto Wild out to cook some other things, and so I just put it in this Auto Wild and cooked it off until that bacon got crispy enough to my particular crispy quotient, and until the hot dog was pretty well done. We like our hot dogs right close to being burnt without getting them burnt. In the meantime, back at the ranch in the kitchen, the chili is cooking down. So once these hot dogs are turned a couple of times and to the point that we really like them, then it's time to pull them. And what is a chili cheese dog without a little bit of cheese? And if you don't do cheese, you can always omit this, as I mentioned earlier. But we do okay with some cheese. Try not to overdo it. It sort of makes things hyper palatable if it's overdone. So we try to limit it. But I always, these days, slice up my own cheese. I understand the stuff that you buy pre-sliced has got all kinds of weird things in it, and I would just prefer to avoid that myself. Now remove that stick. You do not need the additional fiber of that wood skewer, and top with as much or as little chili as you like. I let mine get a little bit drier than I normally would like, but it was still good. And I did not miss the bun, although a bun could be delicious if that's the way you eat. And then, of course, some cheese on top. And once it's plated, do some fancy jazz hands to make it seem even more elegant. And then grab a fork and dig in. And I gotta say, the flavors here were on point. It really was tasty. Again, my chili was just a little bit drier than I would normally like, but after one good taste and a little contemplation, I turned to the thumb scales. Was it good? Is it not good? Not so good? Yes, it was good. So I would do it again. Hope you give this a try, or some version of it a try. I think you will not be disappointed. It's kind of fun to make. It's a little bit different. You can always put your own twist on it, and I would love to hear if you do that, especially if you put your own twist on it, what the twist is. So again, this is your recovering carnivore curmudgeon, and I'm not saying that I overdubbed this video in my underwear, but I'm not saying I didn't. Thanks for watching. Hope to catch you next time.